Hi everybody, thank you for joining me. So today is a 5-year anniversary that I thought worth just reflecting on. It's 5 years to the day since we got the first of the Beatles Anniversary Editions. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, released on May 26th, 2017. Now, I remember at the start of 2017 wondering whether or not we might get something to commemorate Sgt. Pepper, because they hadn't done anything for the 50th anniversaries of previous albums. And I put a message out on the internet, I remember, asking people, what do you think we will get for this 5th anniversary? Do you think we will get the motherlode, every session, every sort of unheard snippet? Do you think we'll get something pretty comprehensive? Do you think they'll mention it, or do you think we'll get nothing? The overwhelming majority of people who replied said, we'll get nothing. Well, it was a surprise then when this was announced. Obviously the first of the 4 that we've had so far probably would have been 5, I guess, had it not been for COVID taking us out a year. But what do I think of this particular anniversary package? Well, overall, as a series so far, I've loved it. It's been brilliant. If somebody had said 5 years ago, presented you with everything and said you're going to get all this within the next 5 years, I think you'd have been a pretty happy Beatles fan. So, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. I would have loved Carnival of Light to have been in here, for example. If it was ever going to get released, this was surely the perfect place to put it. But Beatles politics probably got in the way and stopped that from happening. This was the first time that we got a Giles Martin remix of one of the main albums. He'd obviously done various things before, but this was the first time he'd gone deep on a particular album, him and his team anyway. It's an interesting remix. I think he's done better since. Some of it can be a little loud. I think it's very jarring, for example, when Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite comes in and it's, whoa, that's loud. I think the piano crash at the end of A Day in the Life loses a little bit of impact with the modern way that's been mixed and mastered, but that's kind of nitpicking. Overall, I do think this is a really enjoyable listen as a remix, and I kind of flip between the different versions of Sgt. Pepper when I'm listening to them. I listen to the remix and think, oh, that sounded great. I bet the original mono sounds even better, so I'll listen to that next time, and I'll listen to that and think, oh, flipping heck, that was amazing. I bet the stereo sounds really good, the 67 stereo. I'll listen to that and then I'll think, that's good, but I bet the remix is better, and it just goes round in circles. But so I do enjoy it, but I think he's maybe learnt things possibly from this and done better ones since. I'll talk more a little bit about that in a moment. But to get 4 CDs, a Blu-ray with documentary on and all sorts of session extras was a real bonus to get. I also got the separate vinyl as well. So that was a great thing to pick up, and we kind of wondered at that point then, well, does that mean that over the next few years we're going to get the White Album? Are we going to get Abbey Road, Let It Be? And of course we did. The year after, the White Album showed up. Again, you could get this this deluxe box here, which has got the vinyl in it, and the massive selling point for this, the brilliant thing about this box set, was finally getting the full Isha demos recorded at George's house. Not massively long after they'd all got back from India, they pulled together what songs they'd got and spent a day doing demos, recorded demos, which is something that's pretty much unprecedented in Beatles history. So the fact that we finally got all of those on this set was really the highlight of the set. The remix itself is an interesting one. I think listening to each song in isolation, they sound immense, they sound fantastic. You could make potentially an argument that each individual song sounds the best it's ever sounded on here. When you put them together as an album, it loses a little bit for me, just a little bit. The second, the last third of the White Album really, for me, should take you to a dark place. It's some pretty creepy stuff there. And it doesn't quite for me on the remix. So although I think the songs individually sound brilliant, I think when you bring it together, I tend not to enjoy it as an album as much. But it was great to get things like Take 18 of Revolution, which is where it started to go in the direction of Revolution 9, where they just kept jamming and they were adding sort of silly noises and sounds and things, and that went further in Take 20, which if you can find on the internet is a really interesting listen. But then that was certainly the genesis of what was then sort of carved off and made into a separate thing on Revolution 9, so it was really interesting to get that. There's a take of Helter Skelter on there that is just brilliant. I absolutely love it, and it sounds to me it's like 10 years later and it'd been the Buzzcocks doing it. It's like a sort of a proto-punk version of Helter Skelter, which is really fun. So I enjoyed this version as well, the digital version with the interesting slipcover that's on it. Very similar content really, but again a really, really nice package that they're putting together there for the White Album, so that was great to get. We moved on to 2019, and to me this is like the anniversary releases so far have kind of been in two halves, in my eyes anyway. Sgt. Pepper and the White Album have been very kind of bold remixes, quite in your face. I understand why some people wouldn't enjoy them so much. I've kind of just sort of said what I do enjoy and what I don't enjoy so much. I think one thing on Sgt. Pepper one that I really enjoy is the start of Lovely Rita. I think it sounds so good. The way that they were able to finally go back to all the original session tapes and rebuild it, rather than having to be constrained by 4 tracks and having to use the bounce down techniques that they used. They were able to let it breathe, and I think the intro to Lovely Rita sounds absolutely superb on Sgt. Pepper. But I said it was kind of a game of two halves for me, with those first 2 albums being quite bold and in your face. The second 2, so Abbey Road and Let It Be, we'll start off with Abbey Road, I think have been so much better as remixes. They've been more subtle, but I think that's all the better for it. I think Abbey Road certainly benefited from, on the strings, you get the strings for example on Golden Slumbers, just sound absolutely sensational. So I think that, I don't know whether it's to do with the original source tapes that were maybe slightly different on these last 2 albums. Maybe, I don't know whether they were better recorded or what, or whether it's Giles and his team maybe going down a slightly different path deliberately and maybe doing slightly subtler remixes. I don't know if we know the answer to that yet. I think time will tell, and if, for example, the next anniversary edition is, let's say, Revolver, and there's a little hint out there that suggests that it might be, because Sam O'Kell, who works very closely with Giles, did say in a podcast just recently, a few weeks ago, that they were currently working on, as he described it, mid-period Beatles. So does that mean they're working on Revolver, potentially? I think when that comes out and we hear that remix, if it sounds very, very bold and in your face, like the first 2, Sgt. Pepper and the White Album, that will suggest maybe that it's more to do with the source recordings that they're working from. If it's much more subtle, like Abbey Road and Let It Be, then maybe it is the case that they learned and applied different techniques with these that they're also then going to apply to the further albums. We'll see. That's just my kind of guess on these things. We will see whether that pans out or not. But the Abbey Road one, this was the digital version. So again, they've gone different styles here. With each set, they've gone a different style. And I know some people have said, "Oh, why can't it all be consistent?" But they haven't gone down that road. And part of me sort of thinks, well, do you know what? I don't mind. Each Beatles album was such an individual thing anyway, and so different from the one before it or the one that followed it, that this kind of mirrors that, really. Each package is very different because each album is very different. One thing that Beatles albums were not was a kind of copy of the one that came before it. So this was a new style. I liked this. This was kind of very sturdy, but it does make it a very different shape even to the previous ones. And it was a very similar looking set for the 3 album version. But this was nice, the fact that they used, if we just have a look at, we've got the main album there, and then for the extras, the additional albums, they used sort of a different photo from the session. I love that photo session as well, just the sheer I don't know if amateurishness is the right word to use, but the way that it was done is just, it seems crazy by modern standards. The fact that, I mean, that was taken from the top of a stepladder. There was something like 12 photographs taken altogether, and it was just sheer pot luck that one of them happened to come out great with the legs all kind of matching. That was luck more than anything that we got that particular cover. Whereas now it would all be done a lot more professionally, and they would take hundreds of photographs and they would digitally alter them. But there it was just a case of get him up on the stepladder, take 12 photographs, and let's have our fingers crossed that one of them comes out okay. So the Abbey Road one, I loved the remix. The extras on it, the additional ones, have probably been the ones that have grabbed me least so far. Maybe time will tell, and maybe one day I'll play the extras and all of a sudden, boom, it will be my favourite. Who knows? But it was really interesting to get things like the original mix for the medley on side 2. That's kind of a very different listen. The way that it goes around sort of Mean Mr Mustard, Polythene Pam with Her Majesty interwoven. It's a very different listen and very interesting. But I think they certainly got it right, the way that they did do it in the end, because I think the transition into Polythene Pam lacked a lot on that particular version. We then, surely a year later than it was due to be, got the Let It Be package. So this was the vinyl version, and I think this is the best one so far. I think they've really knocked it out on the park with this one. I like the fact that you can just kind of choose what you want the cover to be. You can either have that booklet at the front, or you can choose some of the other albums and put them at the front to have different views. I like that. I think the remix itself, I've never enjoyed the Let It Be album more than I have done over the last 6 months or so since this came out. It's just gone way up in my estimation as an album. I just really enjoy it now, whereas I probably would have ranked it quite low down before. So it's certainly enhanced the main album for me. The fact that we've got the original Glyn Johns mix for the Get Back album is great to finally have. Wonderful to have an official version of this now. And I'd never really listened to it much because, as I've said before, I don't really tend to get involved much with bootlegs. So this was kind of new to me. And it's an enjoyable listen, but it's a confusing listen. It makes you think, my God, why did Glyn Johns choose that particular take of this song? There's certain takes where you think, there's so many better takes available. Why did he choose these? So it's a very interesting listen. I love the style of this album, how it was made to look pretty much exactly like the original Please Please Me album, but obviously with the new photograph taken at EMI House. And again, even the back cover with the Tony Barrow sleeve notes that match pretty much what was done for Please Please Me. So I really enjoy having that. And the extras as well is a lot of fun. I mean, the whole project, including the Peter Jackson Get Back movie, I think has been such an event, such a triumph. Some people might not like how certain things have been done during this, but overall, the fact that we've got this Get Back movie and all of these session tapes now, I think the January '69 sessions have been completely rejuvenated, rehabilitated, whatever you want to say in people's minds, by these packages that have come out in the Peter Jackson movie. I don't think January 1969 is any more regarded as the kind of glum, miserable, dour month that many of us had maybe often thought of it as being. So where will we go next after the original 5 years? Now that the first 5 years are up, like I said, it looks like the smart money is probably on it being Revolver next, just judging by those comments about it being mid-period Beatles. It would seem weird to go to Rubber Soul next. You either go to Revolver and work backwards, or you go to Please Please Me and work forwards, in my mind anyway. So maybe it will be Revolver next. I think the big obvious gaps in what we've had so far, if we're looking at it chronologically from Sgt. Pepper through to Let It Be Abbey Road and at the end of their existence, is that we haven't got anything yet for Magical Mystery Tour or Yellow Submarine. I would love to get something, especially for Magical Mystery Tour. Yellow Submarine is a bit of an outlier. That's maybe not as easy to, because there wasn't specific sessions as such for an album like there was for the others. But Magical Mystery Tour, there was loads of sessions there, and it always absolutely amazes me that the time period that they were working to, from finishing their final mixing on Sgt. Pepper to starting work on the Magical Mystery Tour sessions. For normal bands now, that would be a year, 2 years or more. It was 3 days between them finishing one and starting the other. Absolutely ridiculous. So I would love to see a Magical Mystery Tour package that that does justice to it, like these other albums have had. We could have plenty of session outtakes, alternate versions of the main songs that made it into the movie. I would love it to include the various sort of other bits of music that were included in the movie, so things like sort of music from Jesse's Dream, Shirley's Wild Accordion, and all that kind of stuff. Let's have some outtakes from the film as well, because although we've had the movie released on Blu-ray and DVD in fairly recent years, we've not really had much in terms of additional footage. I will just grab something from here. We did get this back in 2013 when that Blu-ray and DVD came out, and this was good. This was great at the time, because it was a few years before the anniversary packages started, but it doesn't go into anywhere near the depth of the anniversary packages. We got a really nice booklet here, all about the making of the album, and to be honest, they probably wouldn't be able to improve on that much, so that might be an interesting decision for them to make. But it's got it's got the story here of Magical Mystery Tour, those original cartoons that were done, so that was good. And it also does contain the Magical Mystery Tour EP, the 2 singles, which, if I can find them, so here we go. In here it's got the 7-inch 45 RPM singles of the Magical Mystery Tour music, so as per what was originally released in the UK in 1967. So I guess they're kind of in a difficult position that they've released sort of a good package already. It's just not quite as in-depth as the other ones that we've had over the last 5 years. So it'd be interesting to see whether they can make a good anniversary edition out of Magical Mystery Tour without repeating this one too much. So I just wanted to commemorate the fact that it is 5 years now since this reissue campaign started, and we've had so much stuff released that we might never have expected to have got over these 5 years. I think we've got a lot more fun to come probably over the next 5 years with the earlier albums. That should be really interesting to see how that goes. But let me know your thoughts on the anniversary packages that we've had over the last 5 years. I would love to hear whether you what do you love, what do you don't like about it, which ones did you pick up, is there any that you missed out on? And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers, bye bye.